So I know who you are. I'm a big supporter of your content. I like your content. I've watched it. One of my favorite things about you is that you use really good analogies to describe intersexual dynamics between the two genders. And I was like, yeah, this guy just gets it, man. This is awesome. But I want the audience to kind of know your professional background and, just let them know your credentials and a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name's Orion. I'm 40 years old. I was born and raised in Las Vegas. Psychology is actually my second or third career. I got started as an actor. I went to NYU, the Tisch School of the Arts, and I was a professional actor in New York City for about 11 years. Toured around the world and did a lot of interesting things that way. Decided I liked performing, but I didn't like being an actor, the lifestyle. So I decided to make a change, moved into psychology. There's way more than you might think in common between acting and psychology. Acting training was really good training for being a therapist. I moved to the Bay Area and got my doctorate in clinical psychology, which took about 7 years. Since then, I've had a private practice. I specialize in men's mental health, so all my clients are men. And I started the PsychX YouTube channel a little over 2 years ago, and we're closing in on 200,000 subscribers.
Nice.
So
it's
starting to, yeah, it's picking up pretty good right now.
Yeah. You said earlier that you didn't like the actor lifestyle. What did you dislike about it the most? Because a lot of people look at it like, wait, what are you talking about? Wouldn't it be great to be, running around, meeting models, do it, getting money and being in movies and stuff like that? What did you not like about it?
Well, for some people, that's an awesome lifestyle. I had to be honest with myself. I'm functionally an introvert. Like I can turn it on and bring the razzle dazzle when I need to. But that kind of career, if you want to go to the highest levels, you always have to be on. You have to be going to all the parties. You have to be schmoozing.
Be social, yeah.
You don't get the jobs otherwise. I mean, it's really about who you know and what you look like, obviously, in Hollywood. So I just realized that I just wanted to act. I just wanted to perform, and I didn't have a lot of patience for all the parties and socializing, and I knew that it was going to hamper my career in the long run.
Gotcha. Okay.
You got to play the game.
Yeah. You enjoyed the acting, but you didn't like what was required to get the positions to do the acting, I guess.
No, I was naive. When I first started out, I thought just because I was talented, I would make it. Like a lot of young people. And talent gets you so far, but it definitely doesn't get you all the way.
All right, be honest, bro. Do you have to sell your soul to make it in Hollywood now?
Would I do it?
No. Do you have to?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a Hollywood expert. So I think that you definitely need to know the right people in order to get certain jobs and to make certain contacts. I mean, as an actor, you're actually the least powerful person on a stage or a set. There's the producers, the casting directors, the directors, the owners of the theaters and the studios. So a lot of actors don't have a lot of power, even though they're the most visible component of the production. And obviously it takes a lot for productions to get off the ground. It's not just the actors doing everything.
That makes sense.
And can you tell the people a little bit more about your educational background? As far as you said you did your undergrad at NYU, and then you got your doctorate.
I got a master's and a doctorate in the Bay Area. I went to the California School of Professional Psychology, where I earned both of those things. I joined the faculty shortly after I graduated. I taught there for a couple of years. I also taught math back at the City University of New York because I was also a teacher for 20 years.
Oh, okay.
That might be why I'm decent with the metaphors. I learned a long time ago that part of good teaching is a little entertainment. You have to get people engaged. You have to keep their attention, or else whatever information or knowledge you might have is just not going to be received.
Won't be properly conveyed because they might not be ready to receive it.
Edutainment is what they call it nowadays.
Yeah. You have to be able to capture people's attention, for sure. Attention is the conduit through which things enter into our consciousness, and if that's blocked or distracted for whatever reason, you're not going to get very far.
And then guys, also do me a favor. We're live streaming this on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and Rumble. If you guys have questions for the show, send us a Rumble rant, or have a question for the doc, send us a Rumble rant, and we will definitely make sure that we, answer the questions. We actually have a professional in the house, so you guys can go ahead and get your questions answered. And then can you explain to the audience real fast the difference between a psychologist versus a psychiatrist?
Yeah, I was confused about this before I got into the profession. There's so many terms: psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist, psychotherapist.
Yeah.
The most important distinction between a psychiatrist and a psychiatrist goes to medical school. A psychiatrist is a medical doctor, and because of that training, that person is entitled to prescribe psychiatric medication, antidepressants, anti-anxiety pills, etc. A psychologist is like a PhD doctor.
Yep.
And this person can do lots of different things. Sometimes they go into research, sometimes they go into academia, and sometimes, like me, they go into private practice. They go into psychotherapy.
Okay.
The term psychotherapist is a meaningless term. Anybody can call themselves a psychotherapist. It doesn't have a legal basis.
Okay.
But like, you need to have a license to be a psychologist. You need to have a license to be a psychiatrist. These are like legal professions that require certain degrees and other trainings to
Gotcha. And what is the governing body over all psychiatrists and psychologists in the United States? Is it like the American?
I think for psychiatrists, it'd be the AMA, which is the American Medical Association.
Okay.
For psychologists, is the APA, which is the American Psychological Association.
Okay. And the two don't overlap at all? At all? Two completely different governing bodies.
The governing bodies are completely different, but they're not so separate as I just suggested, partly because psychologists really, really, really want to be a science. And for example, their diagnostic tools are based on, this is kind of in the weeds, but the DSM.
AMA and APA, one is the American Medical Association. That's where psychiatrists are under, and then American Psychologists Association.
You got it. Exactly. Psychologists they get their diagnostic tools from psychiatrists. So there's a little bit of overlap with respect to diagnosis. That psychologists basically use the definitions for mental illness that psychiatry has developed.
So let's say Dr. Jordan Peterson, he doesn't fall under these because he's Canadian, right?
That's right.
So he's a whole different
licensing body. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But he's a psychologist.
Yes.
In this. So he can go into, just like you said before, when you become a psychologist, you can get into research, you can get into
academia,
therapy, academia. Okay. And in your case, you have your private therapy practice that you do, and you still maintain, I'm assuming, right? As well. So what made you segue into the YouTube world? How'd you get involved with that?
Sure. So I had been working as a psychologist in private practice for about 6 years. And as I said, I was specializing in men's mental health. And I had a full practice, and I felt like I was doing a lot of good. Like I could see people were getting better as a consequence of their engagement with me. Not always, but almost always. And one of the things that, it was very satisfying to do that, for sure. But with a private practice, you work with 30, maybe 40 people a year. Now, if you can really change even 30 or 40 people's lives for the better, that's no small thing, right? But I figured that if what I was doing with these guys might be helpful for them, well, they're not so different from potentially millions of other men out there on the planet. So maybe I could find some sort of platform, some sort of conduit through which I can reach all these other men, because if it works for these guys, it might work for all these other guys as well. And so that was really my motivation, is to try to have a bigger platform so that to the extent that I was doing good, that good could reach more people.
Gotcha.
The ultimate mission of the channel is to reduce human suffering.
Yeah. So with that said, what would you say is the current state of men's mental health in the West? There's a lot of people always talk about mental health, but they tend to kind of forget the male perspective on it, right? Because men are taught to be stoic, hold it in, man up, etc. Which we advocate here on the channel, especially in front of a woman. But obviously you should be able to open up and be able to deal with your problems with your brothers, or maybe with a professional that understands. But what would you say the state of men's mental health in the West today would be in general?
I think the state of men's mental health is pretty poor. I think the state of mental health of human beings and their physical health on this planet is pretty bad right now. Absolutely. I think that stoicism gets a bad rap. I remember when you came down yesterday and you broke the news to me about what was going on, I noticed and I mentioned that you seemed to be bearing up very well, and I appreciated your stoicism, and your eyes lit up. Like, there is definitely a time and a place to kind of bear your cross and to carry on. Absolutely. Yeah. And the powers that be that want to demonize that or say that that's a component of toxic masculinity, that's just not true, and that's not helpful for guys.
Yeah.